Welcome to Career Coffee Chat Live. I'm your host, Erin Urban, certified executive coach and career accelerator. And today we are having our Thanksgiving special a little bit early because most of us want to take off with friends and family and enjoy the Thanksgiving week next week, myself included. In fact, I'll be enjoying and working. And if any of you follow me on a regular basis, you know I've got a lot of things going on. And that's what we'll be talking about. The main focus of our Thanksgiving special today is two things primarily. Number one, I'm here to show up and help coach you. So if you are interested in having some coach insights on anything career specific, topic whatsoever, feel free to pop your name in the chat and say, Coach me. And think about what your specific topic is. I want to make sure that I can help elevate your career and your life and your experience overall so you can be in your zone of genius and be your best self. So if you've never seen my smiling face before, my name is Erin Urban or Coachy Urban. You can find more about me at coachyurban.com. And of course, I have this live show and a podcast, Career Coffee Chat Live, is live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, as well as the podcast is available on all the major channels, including a few I've never heard of. So most importantly, I want to welcome you to the show. Come on in, pull up a seat, join us for the conversation. I would love to welcome you. So say your name, say where you're from. And don't forget, if you want some live career insights, no matter what it is, career specific insights, just say your name and say, Coach me, and put that in the comments. Now, if you're tuning in from Facebook, I recommend you hop over to YouTube or LinkedIn because I can't necessarily see the comments from Facebook unless you do a bunch of funky settings and we don't want to go there. So if you're tuning in from YouTube and Facebook, I'd love to help you thrive. Now, our second area of focus today, and yes, this is going to be a monologue today or a dialogue between you and me, is stress. I don't know about you, but I've noticed there are a lot of people that have a lot of things going on. So I'd love to hear from you if that resonates with you. If you feel like there's a lot of things going on right now, you're not alone. So what might be going on? Well, last year we took a step back. We had some time to reflect, time to take a little bit of a pause, whether it be forced or otherwise. And I feel like this year we're really trying to make up for lost time. So what might be happening is we're just trying to cram so many things into a little bit of time, trying to make up for lost time last year. So we might be seeing a lot of things going on right now. And I know if you're like me, I've got a lot of irons in the fire. So I'd love to share with you today how to live free. In other words, live stress-free. Because the pathway to success does not have to be stressful and does not have to include anxiety and worry. So great to see you, Lynn, tuning in from LinkedIn. Great to see you again as you tune in. And if you do want live career growth insights of any type, just say, Coach me. Make sure you add your name and what you want to be coached about, because I'm here to help you elevate your career. So sneak peek inside the Turkey Day special is, of course, the live coaching that anybody that attends live. So if you're watching later, unfortunately, you won't get that live coaching. But if you do have questions, don't be shy. Pop them in the chat. I'm here to help you elevate. Next thing I'll be focusing on is breaking down that giant to-do list and breaking free of anxiety and worry. Also, Buzzy Brain. Have Buzzy Brain. And what is Buzzy Brain? Well, Buzzy Brain is you have so many things buzzing around in your head, you're not quite sure what to focus on next. No worry. We will help you reduce that stress and Buzzy Brain in 5 minutes or less. And then 5 strategies to help clear your mind and reach peak productivity in less than 20 minutes per day. Seeing a theme here? So what we want to do is focus on what can we do to manage stress wisely. And it's not just all about mindfulness and yoga and taking long walks. There is some science to success behind that. And most importantly, there's science to living stress-free. And most importantly, talk about what some of these mindfulness programs and other types of programs have wrong so you can achieve results easily. Right? So come on in, say hi, say where you're from. And if you want some free coaching, now's your time, because as a part of this Thanksgiving special, I have a lot of gratitude for all of my friends and followers and family on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. All of you mean a lot to me. And I just want to share that it's because of you then I've been able to accomplish everything I've been able to accomplish this year. We're not a one-person band here. We don't get very far by ourselves, if you're honest with it. While it is our drive and our determination that gets us places, it's truly that community that comes together that helps us, whether that community be virtual or in person. So I'm just taking time right now to acknowledge you and give my thanks to make sure that I can help you elevate in any way. That's what I live for. That's what I live for. A long time ago, I started building my influence on LinkedIn, and quite a few people ask me, "Well, what is the secret to influence building on LinkedIn?" Well, my strategy has been this, and it's not the same for everybody, but my strategy is paying it forward. And the more I can give to you, and the more that you can elevate your career, that's what makes the world go around for me. Okay. So, hey, great to see you tuning in. Let's see, we've got some folks tuning in. I'm hopping over here just to make sure I can see all the comments and make sure that I'm part of this live stream here. Let's see. It's being a little slow. We'll give it a minute. So, hi, Stephanie. Great to see you. She's like, I'm interested to learn how to reduce stress in the new year. Yes, reduce stress overall. And one thing I encourage you not to do is make New Year's resolutions. So that's number one tip for you today is don't make any New Year's resolutions because we all know they go pretty quickly. So what we want to do today is really focus on how to, first of all, reduce stress and anxiety. And if you want free coaching on any topic, all you have to do is say "coach me" in the chat, and then give me a topic that you'd like to be coached on. And if you prefer to be anonymous about that, then feel free to reach out to me via messaging. So, free coaching here. Hi, Rosanna. Great to see you tuning in from Cyprus. So, why am I focusing on stress and anxiety? Well, like I mentioned before, last year we had time to kind of take a step back. And I think right now we're trying to make up for lost time. So, there's a lot of things going on. But I have a personal story I'd like to share with you why stress and anxiety is important to me. Because this past year, I have experienced a few of the most stressful events that you'll ever experience in life, about 5 times so far. Take, for example, we moved my mother, which took 3 cross-country trips and many U-Hauls, and we did it all ourselves. We didn't hire anybody. We didn't hire, an international mover or nationwide mover. We did all this ourselves. Over Christmas, for example, we came down, we got the U-Haul, we packed and loaded the U-Haul in 3 days and shipped Mom back to Texas. I look back on that. I have no idea how I did that. Really have no idea. So it must have been meant to be. And on top of that, immediately after we sold her house from 2,000 miles away, I cannot tell you how stressful and awful that is. And at the same time, we started building her house on a property we have just outside of town, and it's still underway. Then, because that wasn't enough, clearly we needed to do more. We got our townhome townhome in Houston ready for sale, sold it, and now we're looking and preparing to move our personal belongings in the middle of a pandemic while managing my own business and launching a best-selling book this year and taking a graduate level course at Rice University. So this is why stress and anxiety is important to me, because one day I woke up earlier this year and I said to myself, I have anxiety. That sucks. I said a few other words too that I won't share on live TV. But yeah, it was a big wake-up call for me. I was like, I've not been a person that's identified with having anxiety. As a person who's an overachiever, I tend to think anxiety is a weakness, right? So it took me a little while to understand. First of all, anxiety is not a weakness. And if you had that much going on, well, duh, of course you're going to have anxiety. There's only so much your brain and body can handle. So somebody said, "Coach me." We'll get through to you in a message later today. Okay, no problem. Not a problem at all. Great to see you, Donna. Great to see you tuning in. Carnicia, always good to see you tuning in from Woodlands, Texas. So again, if you want some free coaching, just say "coach me." If you prefer not to share what you want to be coached on, then just message me. I'm happy to help. But now's your time. So you can get some free coaching, say "coach me," and give me what topic. It doesn't matter what the topic is, as long as it's career related. I don't really do relationships, but I will talk about some personal things today about stress and anxiety. So yes, after sharing with you my story, you could say that I've got a few things going on. I think I'm legitimately certified now to talk about resilience. So it's not a huge shock that I woke up earlier this year with what felt like a knife in my gut. So let me know, those of you who are tuning in, if you've ever felt like that when you woke up or felt like that at some point during your day, like this knife twisting in your gut, the stress and anxiety was getting to you. If that's not where you hold your stress, let me know where you hold your stress. And sometimes it's your shoulders. You know how your shoulders start to climb up to your ears and they're like this. And then you're like, oh gosh, yeah, I'm really tense. And so here's something you can do with me today is you can just take a deep breath. And if your shoulders are up here, just let those shoulders relax down. Yeah, just let them relax down and just give yourself some breathing room around your neck. Because when you start doing this and we start collapsing in, that tells our body that we're in danger and we need to protect ourselves. So we start going into fight or flight mode. That's not very helpful because what that does is it reduces your ability to articulate and communicate effectively. Fight or flight's super useful when you're running away from woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers, but not very useful in our modern day-to-day world. So what we're finding is that when you go into fight or flight mode, your cognitive functions are reduced. And all the energy is then focused on activity, physical activity, like fight or flight. So you fight something, run away, but not on cognitive function or articulating things, which is something to keep in mind if you're going into interviews, because this very same thing happens. Our body, our mind perceives a threat. Oh my gosh, we're in a fretful situation. Oh my gosh, it's very stressful, and it elevates our cortisol level, and we go into fight or flight, and we can't think about what we're going to say next. And later on after the interview, we go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't say X or I said this. That's why this happens. And in our day to day, fight or flight mode is super not useful for you being productive, healthy, and whole, right? So let's see who else we have. Stress in the neck. Yes, yes. So someone holds their stress in their neck, and I think. Hi, Stephanie. Good to see you. She says neck and lower back. And Rachel, that's you. Okay, so I'm looking at two different screens. I've got this up here, so I'll make sure I can see everybody on LinkedIn that's tuning in. Rachel, good to see you. She says stress in the neck. Yep, that's right here. It's right here for me, and then I feel that anxiety like right here in the gut. That's what was happening. So fast forward to today, after all that, and I realized that something had to change. I did make some changes, and I'm very happy to report that even though I have, let's see, today, I just finished the PMI presentation with Professional Development Day. Yay! That was a really fun experience. So any of you tuned in there, it was great to see you. Great to have you tune in. And I hope you enjoyed the presentation. So I just finished that and I just hopped on the live show. So immediately back to back. And then later on this week, I have several more back to back presentations. But you know what? I'm not waking up in the morning with that twist in the gut. Would you like to learn more how I'm able not to do that? How I'm able to live more free and live less stress-free? So I'd love to share with you today how you can do that, because it's not only stress management, not only critical for your well-being, but it's also essential for elevating your influence as well as your career advancement and your physical health as well. Because while it may come something of a shock to you, you cannot give what you don't have. Okay, so if you're all stressed out and you're stretched very thin, asking yourself to stretch more is not realistic. And I felt like that. I felt like I was a rubber band that was stretched so thin, I felt sure that I was just going to fly apart in any minute. So based on science, your results are typically a direct outcome of where your energy is also. So if you're really focused on worry and stress, guess what? You tend to create more of it. It's very true. We tend to do this to ourselves. So if your energy is all wrapped up in worry and anxiety, it probably affects the outcome of your life and your career. So share it with me what you think. If you have ever been in a place where you're so worried and so focused on stress and worry that it just seemed to be everywhere, let me know if that resonates with you and if that's something that you've ever experienced before. Because I'd love to hear from you what you have to say. So when we're thinking about the lots to do. So the big to-do list, all the things going around. It was very important, to break all of these things down and break free of anxiety, because we are always going to have something to do. There is not an end to our to-do list. Sorry, I know. I know you tuned in hoping I would say, well, next week, Tuesday at 3:45 p.m., we will have no more to-do list. That is not the case. I cannot make that promise. What I can say is there will only constant is change, and there will always be something to do. If you don't have anything to do, you should be concerned. This should be a worry for you. The last time I didn't have anything to do in my work, for example, I was getting ready to be laid off. So this should be a worry. So we will always have something to do. It's not going to go away. So let's just first accept that. Take a deep breath in. Let it out. It's going to be okay. We'll always have something to do. Now, if you're like me and you have the endless to-do lists, let me know if that's you. If you're an endless to-do lister, and let me know what form you keep your to-do list in. Is that on your phone? Is that write it down? Do you have sticky notes everywhere? No, I used to have sticky notes everywhere. It's literally everywhere. These are a few recommendations I have for you to kind of get it out of your brain, consolidate it, and make it manageable for you. Because the worst thing we can do is keep it up here. I had a client years ago, and he wanted to remember everything because when he was younger, he said, I used to be able to remember everything, and it was so easy. Well, the more candles you get on your birthday cake, the chances are you have a lot more things to remember. So it's a lot harder to ask your short-term memory to keep all of these things in play. In fact, it's impossible. So things will fall off your plate, and you don't want that. So how can you manage that? Well, write it down, right? Yeah, get it out of your head. It's not a pride thing. Let go of the ego. If the ego is saying, oh, but you should remember everything, tell the ego to shut up and just write it down, because this is your way of giving back to yourself. You're releasing this out of your brain, taking it out of short-term memory and putting it down on paper so you can release the worry and stress and anxiety and also free up bandwidth in your brain. Hi, Mariama, great to see you. She said, "Good old paper and pen." That's how she does. That's where she writes her list. Good old paper and pen. She goes, "I write my to-do list." I'm the same. I prefer to write my to-do list, and I actually have a notepad that I write everything in. I just keep one notepad, and that way I don't have to look anywhere else for it. Because if I don't keep it in one notepad, it's just going to be a mess. I will inevitably go to the grocery store. Have you ever been to the grocery store and then forgot your list? How many times am I going to do that in my adult life? You think once or twice I would learn. No, yeah, we still keep doing it. Cornelia says, I'm an endless list maker. I use paper planner because physically writing it down makes me feel better. Yes, actually, it's interesting you mentioned that, Cornelia, because the physical act of writing actually translates into our brain much better. Not only does it send certain chemicals to our brain that makes us feel better, it also helps us remember it. So for those of you who think you need to keep it all up here and not write it down because it helps you remember it, that's actually, in fact, counterintuitive, counterproductive. We need to write it down because that helps. Adult learning studies, for example, have shown that the act of physical writing actually helps you learn information better. So when you write to-do lists down, it helps tremendously for you to actually remember them if that's something you want to do. Me, I don't bother. It's on a list. I can free up my mind. I can free up my cognitive function so I can think about other things. Because here's what happens when you also try to keep all this up here and give yourself Buzzy Brain. We'll talk about more about in a minute. You can't think past it, because your brain is trying to keep all this stuff in short-term memory, and then you're asking it to do something else. That's pretty mean, actually. Your brain only has so much short-term memory. So you can write notes down. You can write things down on a phone app. I have notes on my phone that I know I need to keep with me, and these are just, everybody has their structure, but right now I'm building a building, so I have all these window sizes and boring things that nobody cares about. Also, how many of you wake up in the middle of the night or early in the morning with I need to do this? Let me know how many of you do that, because that is me 100%. If I do not have a notepad by my bed, I will not be able to go back to sleep. It won't happen because my brain's like, but I gotta remember this. I'm doing my job. You keep in mind when you get mad when that happens, don't get mad at your brain. Don't get mad at your mind. Just know your mind is doing what it's designed to do. It's doing its job. So it's trying to help. So don't get mad, because I used to do that. I used to get, then I would get mad. I'm like, just shut up and let me go back to sleep. But my brain is like, but this is my job. Help your brain out and write it down. I always have a notepad by my bed, even if I'm traveling. If I'm traveling, I'll take notes on my phone if I have to, but I'll make sure I get it out of my brain because it won't let me go back to sleep until I write it down. So, yes, a few people can relate to this. Mariama says, I text myself sometimes when I need to write it down. Yeah, yeah. Or I'll email myself for sure, 100%. Here's another thing. This is totally your preference, but I recommend keeping the work and personal list separate. So we have things that we need to do for work, professional lives, and then we have things we need to do for our personal life. I recommend keeping them separate if work-life balance is important to you. If it's not super important, then blend the list and you're fine. It just depends on what work style you identify with, whether you're a blender or a separator. If you're a blender, keep them on one list, no worries. If you're a separator and work-life balance is important to you and you'd like to have that switch between the two, I recommend keeping them separate. All right, so let's see. Rachel says, yes, that's me. That's me, totally me. She wakes up in the middle of the night too. So she's part of the club that wakes up in the middle of the night with things on her brain. And Chaddock says, me, while I'm driving too. I know, right? And then you can't write it down. So you know what I do? Don't tell anybody. Don't tell my husband. He would freak out. He is very much a rule follower. So I hit the record. I bring up the notes app and hit the record, and then I just speak it. But I don't try to text and drive. You really would lose it. I know better than that. And Sharon says, that's me. I can't get back to sleep. Yeah, so if that's you, I definitely recommend keeping a notepad by the bed. And if you keep your phone by your bed, I have opinions about that, opinions based on research. I don't think that's a great thing to do, but sometimes when traveling, I will have my phone by my bed because our phones by our bed does tend to increase that cortisol level and that sense of being on. So your brain has to be on more than normal. And a whole bunch of other sleep research that they've done around having your phone by your bed. So buy a good old fashioned alarm clock. It's okay. They're not expensive. And they have these nice ones that wake you up gradually as versus, we want that. Well, what I don't recommend is whether you have a blended list or separate list is that you drag it out every day and try to plow through it. I recommend prioritizing your top 3 most important tasks or MITs, and that's from Satna Agrawal. She came on the show earlier this year and she chatted about MITs, most important tasks. It's kind of game changing. I have this little 3x3 sticky over here that I have my list and I look at it every day based on my priorities, what I need to get to. I was like, okay, these are the 3 most important things for me today. And it's very helpful. That way, at the end of the day, you can take that sucker and crumple it up and throw it away. It feels awesome. So yes, I know it's a little bit of a game. You're gaming your brain. And it also helps you feel more productive because if you're plowing through this endless list, and there will always be a list, it's not going to end. I would love to say that it is, and it's not. There will always be one. So instead of just beating yourself and flogging yourself with this endless list, give yourself a break. Be kind to you. And that's my Thanksgiving wish. Can we be kind and just be grateful? Hey, I'm able to crumple up this little piece of paper. It makes me feel awesome. Now, if you have a big, hairy, audacious goal, tune in, let me know. Do you have a big, hairy, audacious goal for either the rest of this year or next year? Lord knows I do. I have to accomplish all these things in a certain amount of time and move and, oh my gosh, move mom stuff again. It's this is zoo. So do you have a big, hairy, audacious goal? And if you do, if you're comfortable sharing it, share it with me. I'd love to hear what your goal is. But here's the thing. We have these big goals. Break it down. and break free of stress and anxiety. Because sometimes when we have this big goal, the significance of it is so high, it actually prevents us from getting any real traction towards the goal because it's so big. And the fact that it is so big gets in our way. The significance level is important. So I always recommend to break down your big goal into mini milestones that you can easily bring into your daily life, maybe something you can do once a week, but it's most importantly something you can focus on instead of the big thing, and make sure you celebrate accomplishments all along the way. So Mariama says, yes, going back to that 3x3 sticky note, yes, it feels awesome to crumple that sucker up and throw it away. It feels great. And it also feels good to cross things off. It's wonderful. Chaddock says, I'm a volunteer fireman and EMT, so the phone always has to be close. Understood. Totally understand that because we don't use pagers anymore. Oh, am I dating myself? There was a time where we used pagers. But yes, I totally understand. So if you are a medical professional or EMT, then you do need to keep the phone close for sure. But if that's not you and you don't have to be on call, can you break that addiction, that link, and maybe just have a good old fashioned alarm clock by your bed? It's really important. Now, some of you may say, but what if a family member calls me? Okay. To be fair, I do turn up my phone loud enough that if it's going to ring at 3 a.m., I will hear it. Okay. But it's not by my bed, it's in the next room. Now, the next item on our list to talk about is Buzzy Brain. How many of you have ever had Buzzy Brain? Now, what's Buzzy Brain? Buzzy Brain is when we have so many things, as I mentioned before, on our mind. It's not just to-do lists, but it's to-do lists. It's just all these things on our mind, worries, anxieties, things we need to think about, things we need to remember to do, what's going on, just all these things on our mind that it's like bees buzzing around in our brain, and it's hard to concentrate. It's very counterproductive to what getting anything done. And in fact, it is extremely detrimental towards your performance, towards your productivity, towards your well-being, towards your mindset. And sometimes when we have a lot on our brain, it can become overwhelming. Has anybody ever been there before? I mean, you just felt like there's so much, you just don't even know where to start with it all. Let me know if that's something you resonate with. So if you have ever experienced this, you'll know that buzzy brain, as I call it, isn't productive. And we go back to that fight or flight mode. So that's one thing that's going on. Your body's in fight or flight mode, which means your cortisol level, your stress hormones way up. You can't concentrate. You struggle to make decisions, and it's likely to feel completely overwhelmed and maybe a lot of anxiety. Some people have shortness of breath. They actually feel it in their body. Maybe your shoulders are up somewhere around your ears. Whatever that looks like for you, chances are you're not in a very good place. And that was me earlier this year. I was positive that I was going to literally explode. Just I would have a meltdown, I would explode. I was at rubber band that was just stretched toes so tight. I had all these things on my mind I had to do, in addition to managing my business and everything else that was going on. It was so much. I felt myself one day just going, please give me some answer to this because I'm in a season, I'm doing what needs to be done and I'm managing everything, trying to create balance as much as I can, but it's not enough. I need something else. I need something else to release the anxiety and the worry and the buzzy brain, make that go away. And the answer actually showed up in a very unusual way. Mariama has a big hairy goal. All right, woohoo. She says, my goal is to build a coaching website. Go for you. That's awesome. Yay. Good, good, good. So if some of you can relate to that, if you've ever been there in that moment where you felt certain that you were going to explode if you had any more stress put on you, you didn't even know where to start with it all, then I can feel your pain because I was there. And the answer came from a very unusual and unlooked for place. So let me know if you've ever experienced that. You just get these answers or resolutions from just out of the blue in the most unusual way where you don't really expect it, but it's still amazing and wonderful. And it's one of those where I was really late at night. I couldn't even think. Like my brain just couldn't think anymore. I couldn't read a book, which I love to do. I love to read a book before bed, do something, I'm reinvesting in myself. I couldn't even do that. I didn't want to watch TV. My brain was just done. So all I could do was just mindlessly scroll through Facebook. Have you ever been there? And into videos and like the dodo, the dog videos or the cat videos, or looking through just mindless stuff. Let me know if you've ever been there, because that's where I was mentally. I just couldn't do anything. That was all I could do before bed. I was just like mindless zombie looking through Facebook. And I saw this video. And of course, I have a soft spot for animals. And this video is about this gentleman who was helping high anxiety, stressed, overthinking animals. So, animals that had maybe fear, aggression, or some sort of anxiety related behavioral disorders. He was helping them actually release those issues and becoming much more calm and centered and balanced and communicative with their humans, as he put it. And I thought that was really amazing. So I did one of those unusual things. I actually clicked the learn more video because I was just fascinated about how he was able to connect with these animals and help them become more calm and balanced state. And I was fascinated because I needed to become in a more calm, balanced state. So I was like, well, if he can do it with animals, it probably will work with humans. And guess what? Sure enough, it does work with humans. I've been practicing yoga, meditation, mindfulness practices for years, gratitude, journaling, you name it. And it's all great. However, it wasn't clearing the anxious mind. Now, I knew what was going on. I knew what was happening. What was happening was my brain waves were actually going into a very agitated state. So when we're in a lot of stress and a lot of things are in our mind, our brain waves elevate to what's called high beta. So it's a very agitated brainwave state. And it's very discoherent. So it's not a coherent brainwave state. It's very hard to concentrate, very hard to make priorities and decisions. It can affect our emotional well-being. We don't respond well to situations when we're a very high brainwave state, very agitated brainwave state. So what you want ideally is to slow the brainwave state, reduce your thinking levels, if you will, reduce that brainwave state to a more calm alpha state. And I knew then and now, I knew even then that the best time to do that is first thing in the morning and right before bed, where your brain is more likely to be more calm and less agitated. And that allows you to do much more in your mindfulness practice and these other associated practices. I already knew that, but I didn't know how in the moment to just really reduce that agitation. That's something I wasn't aware of. And I stumbled across it purely by accident in a mindless zombie moment scrolling through Facebook videos. Stumbled across this gentleman by the name of James French, who works with animals who are stressed and anxious. Who knew? And what he does is he says, well, the animals are connected to the human. So the human is in an anxious state. The human has to come in a more calm state. And basically, as he put it, reduce thinking levels. So when he said reduce thinking levels, I'm like, well, I'm all over this. I need to reduce my thinking levels for sure. And Miriam, she says, that's so powerful. It is amazing. It's really amazing. I mean, it's just totally out of the blue. I mean, who would have thought something that people can do with animals will work with humans as well? Well, he had a very good point, James French did, that animals are very sensitive, and particularly higher sensitive, more agitated, more easily agitated animals will be even more in tune to what the connected human is feeling and how they're acting. So if you reduce your thinking levels, reduce that brainwave state to a more calm alpha state, then you're better able to have a better presence for your animal, and you're also able to, be more calm and more responsive, and the animal then responds better to you. So that's his premise, and that's like step one in the whole scenario. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to share with you what I fondly call my mindlessness method. It's a lot to say, mindlessness. So you actually come to a more mindless state. That sounds terrible, but it's actually very, very freeing. And it's not that you become a zombie or you don't know how to think. That's not the point. The point here is to reduce your thinking levels. So would you like to do this with me? Even if you don't want to do this, we're going to do this really quickly because it's very, very simple. And that's another thing I loved about it. Because there's a lot of these complex programs where you have meditation, you follow along in meditation. I do know people who are on here today, will remain unnamed, that have multitasked their meditation. Please don't multitask your meditation. You know who you are. Hi, Pranav. He's tuning in from India. Great to see you. So today what I'd like to do is I'd like to walk you through this very, very simple way to reduce agitated brain waves, which you know when that happens because it's almost like bees in your brain. You have a lot going on, very agitated brain waves. Reduce those brain waves to a slower alpha brainwave state, which allows you to communicate better, have higher cognitive function, learn better, process better, feel better, and be more in control of your emotions and your well-being. How's that sound? It's very simple, and I'll walk you through it. I'll give you an overall view, and then we'll walk through it together really quickly. So the overall view is very, very easy. What he does, and his premise is to focus your mind on the body, which is always present. What we're doing is when we have this buzzy brain is we're focused on everything that is not present. Okay, we're not present. We're in the past, we're in the future, we are not here. And that's the problem. So we're never really present, but our body is always present. So he's leveraging our body to help us be present in what some people call ground. They're grounded. And it's very simple. First, you focus on a spot. Maybe that's me. Doesn't matter. Can be any spot. Doesn't matter. And then you focus on being very still. So you're literally putting your mind on being still. Now, you're not supposed to calm any breathing, let your heart rate be normal. Don't try to control any of your bodily functions, but just focus on being still. That's the first two things to do. So what I'd like to do is walk you through 10 seconds, which will be a lot longer than you think, just focusing on a spot, doesn't matter what spot, listening to my voice, and focusing on being very still. Be in a comfortable position, ideally. If you're driving for any reason, please do not do this. But focus on a spot. Focus your mind on your body being still. Don't try to control your body functions. Breathe normally, heart rate's normal. Just focus on a spot and be still for 8 seconds. And I'll count it for you. How did that feel? Let me know how that went for you. So all you did was focus on a spot and focus your mind on being still. That's it. Now, the next step is focusing on a spot, doesn't matter what spot, focusing on being very still, and then bringing in the sensation of touch. Maybe that's your hands on the desk or your legs. Maybe that's a breeze on your face. It really doesn't matter, but you're now focusing on 3 distinct different things. What's happening here, just a spoiler alert, is you are focusing your mind on your body so much it can't think about anything else. And sometimes thoughts will come into your mind, but just don't attach to them. As soon as you engage with those thoughts, then that's when you start getting distracted and you realize, oh, I was thinking and not really paying attention. But you'll notice the thought, but let it go. And if you're in the US, it's fall time here now in the Northern Hemisphere. So it's like leaves in the fall. You'll notice them drift in, just let them drift out. So we'll do that again. We'll now focus on 3 things: a spot, being very still, let your thoughts drift by, don't engage, and then sensation of touch. Ready? We'll do it for 5 seconds because it's a lot. All right, ready? I'll count it for you. How did that go? So it's focusing on a spot, sensation of touch, and being very still. Now, last but certainly not least, once you've mastered that for 10 seconds, 12 seconds, 15 seconds, listen to a sound. And if there's no sound, maybe that's white noise. I know I've got a lot in my ears from ear damage. Yay. So what you do is you just sit very still. You focus on being still. Body functions are normal. Focus on a spot. Focus, bring in the sensation of touch. So be aware of touch and then be aware of sound. We'll do that for 5 seconds. Ready? Now, when you are doing all of those, my challenge for you is to actually try to think about something. So you have to focus on all that. A spot, look at a spot, sensation of touch, focus on being still, and be aware of sound. So awareness of touch, awareness of sound, focus on being still, focusing on a spot. Try to think. It's not easy. All you have to do is do that for a few moments. And it's almost like pressing reset on your computer. Have you ever had to do that when your computer gets kind of funky and slow, maybe cluttered, you have too many cookies or whatever's going on, you have too much in your cache? Well, you set reset or, just reset your computer, all of a sudden things work much better. It's like pressing reset on your brain. And if you do that a few times a day, it's very calming and very soothing. So when you feel yourself starting to do what I call spinning up into that busy brain, and your shoulders start to go up or wherever the tension is in your body, just do that method. It's very, very simple. And yes, this playback is available on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And if you follow me on YouTube, you can get access to this show and any other show at any time you want. It's also on my Career Coffee Chat LinkedIn business page as well. So it's in all those places, and you can play it back at any time you want to practice. Mariama says, I feel much calmer. Great, thanks. Yay! See, and we only did it for a few seconds. It's very, very easy to do. What this did was it allowed me to clear out that brain. It revolutionized something so simple, made so much difference for me. Because I was doing all the other things. I was doing all the other things we'll talk about in a moment, the yoga, the meditation, getting out nature therapy, all those things, setting my boundaries, doing all the right things. But that one thing was the linchpin for me that really truly allowed me to let go of stress and anxiety. And it's not that I don't have things going on, and it's not that I can't think. That's not the point. But the point here is I'm in much more finite control over how I think and how I process information, and most importantly, how I respond to stimuli. It's stunning how much of a difference it truly makes. Well, Stephanie says, love it. Yay! Mariama says, The Intelligent Body by Kyle Davies talks about this topic. Yeah, so I will definitely check that out. Thank you for that recommendation. Now, last but certainly not least, and keep in mind, we still have the Coach Me if you want to be coached on anything, and maybe it's this topic, who knows? You can say that in the comments in the chat, and I'll be happy to help you. Because it's very important to me that you are able to elevate your life and your career. So just in case, maybe this is not comfortable for you, or maybe you're not there yet, or what have you, but I just feel like the mindlessness method is so simple and so easy to consume that anybody can do it at any point. And I've tried all the other things. I've tried the dead set meditation, we're supposed to sit here and not think. Yeah, right. That lasted for 5 seconds or less, before the brain took over and started reminding me of all the things I have to do and everything that's going on. But this was so effective. And all it is doing is focusing your brain on your body, forcing it into the present moment, and making it so busy it can't think. It's brilliant. It's like, why didn't I think about that? And it's amazing that it just came out of the blue when I needed it the most. So I just want to share that gift with you, my friends, so you can leverage that in your daily life. Now, just in case you want to have some other tools as well, outside of the mindlessness method, meditation, of course, this is really what we're doing is we actually are meditating, but some might want to include a mantra or have guided meditation. But please, as I mentioned before, don't multitask your meditation because that's not meditating. Journaling, gratitude journaling, I know is extremely transformational, just reminding ourselves what we have to be grateful for every day, because we will lose sight of that. Our brain likes to focus on maybe the not so great things and forget the things that are working. And that's a part of positive psychology as well. I had a gentleman on a few episodes ago. He shared what positive psychology actually is. And it was very interesting. He said, well, it's not necessarily mindfulness, although that's a practice that can help. So positive psychology is focusing on what works and then repeating that or doing more of it. Seems pretty simple to me, pretty straightforward. Another method that might help you reduce stress and anxiety is nature therapy. There's tons of research out there around nature therapy. And one of them that's my favorite is what we call grounding. So it's actually walking barefoot. Now, if you live in Houston, Texas, I recommend, or really anywhere, I recommend you be careful because we have fire ants and you don't necessarily want to step on barefoot much fire ants. So I have this big patio stone that I walk barefoot on. I'll just sit there, walk barefoot on it. Feels great. They talk about positively charged ions and all that. I don't really care so much about that, but it seems to work. And if that's what the science shows, then fantastic. But nature therapy, being out in nature, just breathing clean air, being around trees has been proven to be very effective. And my personal favorite is brain breaks. And you can incorporate some of this mindlessness into those as well. And what are brain breaks? Well, I recommend 4 5 minute minimum intervals, evenly spaced throughout the day, that you just unplug from everything. A lot of times, if we've got things to do, we'll just plow away. We'll be super productive. I'm going to be productive. I'm going to push through true grit. And then our productivity starts to wane. And research has proven that after about an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours with no break, our brain tends to start to decrease in productivity. So it's actually helpful to give it just a break. Maybe you get up, get a glass of water, go get some coffee, put the dishwasher on, something that's relatively mindless. Again, we're going back to that lowering thinking levels, unplugging from the cognitive wheel, if you will. So allowing us to do this doodling, daydreaming, sitting on your front porch, watching the world go by, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that you are kind of unplugging from the daily activities that require cognitive function and allowing your brain to just reset for 5 minutes, 4 times a day. If you can do it for longer, that's even better. 15-minute breaks are fantastic. Doodle, daydream, do mundane tasks, whatever. And a bonus, if some of these things are distracting to you, like social media, woohoo, we're on social media right now. So if any of these things are distracting for you, you can put in timeout apps. I know that Apple has focus assistant mode. We limit your exposure to negativity because we are a product of our inputs, and seek out positive information sources. Um, and again, sometimes that's that mindless scrolling on Facebook and looking at fun videos, but something that makes you feel good and gives you positive information. And let me know what that is for you, because I always love learning about new positive information resources, because it's important for me, and it's also something I share with my clients as a resource to help them elevate their lives and their careers. So let me know if you have any questions about anything we've gone over during our time together during this Thanksgiving special. I'm giving back to you in gratitude and joy and Thanksgiving that you're a part of my life. Your friends, whether that be virtually or in person. I love you all, and I'm just so grateful for all of you. And I want to make sure you know that achieving a state of calm is not difficult. Honestly, if my overachieving, overcommitting, perfectionistly driven self can do that, you can do it too. And I have a seriously busy brain. I could literally drive from Texas to Colorado, and some of you know how long of a drive that is, and never listen to music and think the entire time. True story. Has happened many times. The problem we have is we're actually addicted to thinking, and our brain's doing its job. And we're also tend to be addicted to worrying. So, fun fact before I leave you today, um, whatever emotional state, well, okay, let's back up. Emotions are chemicals in the body. Okay, let's break that down. Emotions are chemicals in the body. Our body is not necessarily going, oh, that's a happy emotion. Oh, that's a bad emotion. It just knows it's a chemical that it's responding a certain way to. Okay. And whatever normal state that you have, it tends to be, well, that's the normal state. So your body says, okay, well, whatever you normally feel or feel the most, that's what's supposed to be happening, regardless of whether it's helpful or not. So if you tend to be a worrier, or you tend to be a little bit more anxious, just know that your body will tend to fight you a little bit. It will want to have that normal state. Well, this is normal, and what you're giving me is not normal. It takes a little practice to retrain your body to understand, okay, well, this is a different normal. It's just like any habit. practice makes perfect. Okay. So when you let go of the addiction of thinking, of worrying, you literally set yourself free. I was originally a little concerned. Well, do I have to go around not thinking? Actually, no, that's not really the point. Because when you clear your mind of the clutter, that's when you have your best ideas. How many of you ever had your best ideas in the shower or when you're going for a walk or in the middle of a yoga practice or something like that? Right? So that's when you're freeing your brain. So when you free your brain of worry and concern and all the things, you let go of that buzzy brain, that's when you're free to have more innovation, better ideas. You actually have the aha moment that you've been needing to have for a while, or whatever it is. You have your best ideas for, like, right, for me, writing an article. Once I started this practice, I realized I think I know what I want to write about in my next book. Now, if you'd asked me if I wanted to write a next book after I launched my best-selling book earlier this year, I would have said, heck no, I don't do that. But reducing your brainwave levels, or those brainwave state or thinking levels, if you will, is not going to turn you into a mindless zombie. It actually wakes you up more. I feel so much more invigorated, which is fantastic. So it's my fond wish for you, my friends, to to come to this calm and peaceful state and achieve a stress-free life with more freedom and more joy. So that is my fond wish for you this Thanksgiving and onwards into the future. And if you have any questions moving forward, if you have any questions, if you're watching the replay, just pop your comments in the chat or reach out to me directly. I'm here to help you because, as you know, my friends, I want you to keep elevating. Until next time, there won't be a Career Coffee Chat show Thanksgiving week because we're going to honor the holidays and I'll be super busy and still mindful or mindless in my methods, but I'll be a lot going on next week. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and I will see you in the 1st of December. Ta-ta for now. If you're still tuned in, I can't end the broadcast. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I think we have a boo-boo. See you later.